You know, it's games like No Man's Sky that make me happy that I am not a professional games critic, because I can't fathom the idea of playing this for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours on end to give it a thorough, in-depth review. And that's if they even bother to give it an in-depth review. I'm pretty sure the majority of critics out there are gonna, play it for a little bit and go, "Oh no, it's great," and like, you should totally go out and buy it. Well, I'm not one of those people. So, there's been a question for the past 3 years, ever since the game was announced. What do you do in No Man's Sky? Sure, the game has a great concept. Explore up to 18 quintillion planets. Trade with civilizations, uncover new and exotic wonders and creatures, stuff like that. And the ideas for it all sound really good, really cool. They're like whispering sweet honey into your ears. But what do you actually do in No Man's Sky? What is the minute by minute structure to No Man's Sky? I could tell you Skyrim is a game where you run around an environment and uncover new areas, and you get to see new wonders. But the game, the minute by minute basis of Skyrim is you kill things with your sword or your axe or your bow and arrow. You upgrade your magic. You go on quests, stuff like that. That's what you actually do in the game, not what you see, but what you do. So, the question, what do you do in No Man's Sky, is something that I'm going to answer for you today. Basically, what you're seeing right now, you're going to see for the next few minutes, is what you're going to be doing in No Man's Sky. So, in No Man's Sky, you start off on a planet that no one will probably ever see, that you discovered. You fix your ship, you get some resources, lots of resources, get even more resources, fix your ship, and then fly off into space to go to another planet and do the exact same thing. And the goal is to get to the center of the universe, which by my calculations is gonna be a fucking long time to get there. Time that I simply do not have or wish to give to this game. And if you think I'm being snarky and cynical about this game, then I'm sorry, then you're kinda right. Because No Man's Sky, I played it for about, let's say 8 hours, 9 hours, around that. If I'm being generous, around that. Like, I'd say maybe 7 to 8 hours is more fair. Because I've been taking little breaks between. But I've just about had enough of No Man's Sky. And I know, there's going to be those people that go, well, you didn't play it all the way through. You didn't get to the center of the galaxy. You didn't do the game all that much. You're right. I didn't. And I probably will never, because I find No Man's Sky to be fucking boring. Fucking tedious. Completely uninteresting in some areas. Downright badly designed in others. And I'm pretty sure my criticism is going to be some of the more harsh out there. And the issue is, I see what Hello Games is trying to do. They're trying to create this. They want this to be a game where you just sit back, relax, and collect stuff. it's basically, let me ask you a question. So I'll ask you this question. Do you guys like collecting resources? Do you guys like running around? If the idea of spending hours on end babysitting certain meters and items you got to fill up, like the boosters on your ship, the warp drive, your life support, your fucking annoying ass gun that you have to refill every so often, that the game constantly pesters you, hey, you gotta use this thing to refill this thing, you gotta go over here and collect more shit. Does that sound, if that is your thing, I don't mean to take that away from you. I'm not trying to make you sound like a fucking idiot for liking this. No, of course not. That's not my intention at all. But if the idea of constant resource collecting, and I mean constant, this is about 75 to 80% of what you do in No Man's Sky. So, does that sound good to you? And if your answer is yes, then by all means, you're going to love the hell out of No Man's Sky. You're going to find it completely enrapturing, and you're just going to have a good old time with it. But if you're like me, and the answer is no, then oh boy, are you in for a rude awakening when you pick up No Man's Sky. So, the way they were marketing this game, it was very vague. Going back and watching a lot of the trailers, a lot of it was just, the pretty sights. You get to go on dinosaurs, you get to find dinosaurs, you get to go underwater and find fish, you get into space combat, which the space combat is fucking awful, by the way. But yeah, it's really just an illusion. And unlike, say, another company that thrives on illusion, like Telltale. I'll just pull that example out of my ass, because that's, well, I think you can figure out why. But Telltale, they have the good writing to back up the illusion. The illusion, it's an illusion that you want to be fooled by because it's so interesting and compelling. At least in my opinion it is. But No Man's Sky, its illusion wears off almost immediately. The novelty of seeing and the idea of exploring 18 quintillion planets. I mean, you're not going to be able to explore 18 quintillion planets, but the idea that, an infinite universe, nearly infinite universe is out there for you to explore and collect resources from and find new weird alien life on, that novelty, at least for me, that went away real quick going through it. It by like hour 2, I'd had enough. And I keep hearing reports, if you just get through the first 12 hours of the game and you upgrade and you do all this other stuff, the game's gonna get better. I'm sorry, I don't have the time or the patience to wait around for 12 hours through a game that I'm not even really enjoying to begin with to get to a place where I might start to like it, and that's not a guarantee. For all I know, going through that 12 hours and then getting all the upgrades and shit, I still might find it boring. I still might find the planet navigation to be needlessly time consuming. But I get what Hello Games was doing. I mean, their vision of what this is going to be is not what I would have liked it to have been. But there are ways they could have made this better. I think, the 18 quintillion planets selling point is, it's what they're marketing the game off. It's the big thing that's their big selling point. Limitless universe. This is your universe. The tagline is, I think the tagline was, prepare to go into your universe or something like that. The game is trying to give you this, like trick you into doing this, personal investment into the world. The problem is, is that it doesn't really have that personal touch. And I know this is going to be a strange criticism, but the game lacks a soul. And I know that's a cliche reviewer's term, but it does. It absolutely lacks that personal artistic touch. And I'll give an example of what I mean. So there are monoliths that you can take down in the game that will give you resources. So say you shoot at the monoliths and you start at the bottom. There is no kind of dynamic physics engine, so even if you shoot at this monolith from the bottom, it's still just going to hang there in midair. And it's the little things like that take me out of the experience, that remind me, this is a video game, or this was created by an algorithm. Because in any other game, say like even smaller games, like I say, a lot of smaller games have those small personal touches that make it, feel human. It feels like a team of people worked on the game rather than a machine or an algorithm. And maybe that's not fair. Maybe that's not a fair criticism for No Man's Sky, and you can make that argument because it was a team of people that made this game. 15 people made this game, which is very impressive from just a pure concept standpoint. And I gotta be honest here. I would have rather they have narrowed it down to maybe 3 galaxies. Have it be 3 galaxies, put 10 planets in each one, and have spend those 3 years or more that were used to make this big procedurally generated infinite universe, create a smaller one. Put more personal touches in. Add a dynamic physics engine. You got Sony involved. Maybe have them give you some money and give you some resources to make it feel more personal, but it doesn't. It just lacks that touch of humanity, that touch of warmth, and you just don't. It pulls you out of the illusion a lot, especially when you have to walk over to a resource and you got to shoot that. You got to walk over to this question mark area and shoot that. And even if you don't want to walk over to certain waypoints in the area, the game will deplete your resources of taking off in your shift quite a bit in order to fly over to go over to the resource over there and get more of that. So it's just not fun. I'm sorry, it's not a fun game. It is. I mean, it has its moments, and in the beginning it had me a little bit because I did like the first planet that I went on, that I named my planet Bunghole. So if you find a planet named Bunghole, that's my planet. Hi. But I don't know, and I just grew bored after a while. And by hour 4, I was like, okay, I've had enough. And I turned it off, but then I immediately went back and I was like, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me that is just resisting what the game is trying to offer. Maybe I just need to, look up some tips, look up some guides on how to do these things, because the game does a crap job of explaining how to manage inventory and how to collect certain resources, and it's little things that it's missing as well, like the ability to tag certain resources in order for you to more easily find them in the environment. There's no map for where to get back to your ship. There's no there's no really good sprint button. There's no dune buggy you can get to easily maneuver or ride around in the environment. It's just you either are walking or sprinting with a terrible stamina meter, or you are flying in your ship, which takes more resources, and then you got to go off and find those resources so you can power your ship back up again. And it's just the way I'm talking about it. It sounds so tedious to me. It makes me not want to play the game anymore. And I just, I know the goal is like, well, like if you're not happy with this planet, maybe this planet will be better. But I've been on like 25 to 30 planets already, and I feel like I've seen everything that this game is going to offer. I don't think I will ever experience a planet like what was shown in the E3 2014 video, where you've got large scale population, lots of dinosaurs running around, lots of beautiful, gorgeous scenery, and the game is pretty. It sacrifices a lot. It cuts a lot of corners to get it to run at a stable 30 frames on PS4. But it's a very colorful game, I'll give it that. But I just don't get the sense of it being alive. And even the aliens that I encounter, it just feels the same after a while, because they tell you, oh, well, you can encounter new civilizations, learn new languages and stuff like that, but it just doesn't have that spark of humanity. You get what I'm saying? It's just, the experience just leaves me cold every time. And again, this game sounds great as a concept, as a trailer. Yes, it's like you get to explore lots of planets, you get to go on your own epic space adventure, but if the planets themselves aren't very interesting, and there's no, say, story or characters or emotional investment in what you're doing, then I'm not gonna care. I'm just gonna go, oh well, whatever. And that was literally my first reaction, just So yeah, right now I'm about done with No Man's Sky, and I've only spent like a day with it. So I can't even, if I'm feeling this way after spending a day with it, there's no fucking way I'm gonna want to keep this game and play it for like the rest of my life. I'm not gonna be 85 years old and then plug in my old PS4 and put in No Man's Sky. I'm gonna be like, oh, that game, whatever, and just go back to reminiscing about like The Witcher 3 or Bloodborne or Doom or something. Much better games that all have a signature personal touch to them. But yeah, that's No Man's Sky. And if the footage you've been watching for the past 18 minutes doesn't seem very interesting, just seems kind of boring, then don't buy No Man's Sky. I would not recommend it. But if the footage you've been seeing looks great, something like that, then by all means give it a shot. It's just not that good. I mean, for all the hype, for all the 3 years of hype that this went through, the death threats that Hello Games got when this thing was delayed by its quote fans, this is what it was about? Like, really? Just this generic resource collecting game where you just fly from, soulless planet to planet and collect all these resources? I mean, that's it? That's all what the fuss was about? I mean, and it's just, I didn't like that they kept their cards so close to their chest about it, what it actually was, out of, rightfully so, justifiably so, out of fear that people would be turned off when they found out what it was going to be like. Even games that companies have, they're like an air of mystery to them, stuff like The Last Guardian. It's like, okay, we get it. It's a puzzle adventure game about a kid who has to help out a big furry dog bird. We got it. We get the point. Final Fantasy 15. It's a game we really don't know that much about, but you know what? It's an action RPG. You do fighting with swords. You do open world quests. You drive around in a car. That's the hour-by-hour gameplay. Got it. What do you do in No Man's Sky for the minute-by-minute basis? You collect resources and you fly around. That's pretty much what you do. That's like 75 to 80% of the time. The rest is, I guess, trading with people and the occasional space battle. That's about it. And I'm probably not gonna do a review on this, so take this as my final verdict of the game. Yeah, I'm sorry, I ain't impressed. And this is, yeah, it's. I mean, I braced myself for it being a letdown when I found out what the game was gonna be like. I was just more like, oh, well, okay, I might as well just try it out just to get it over with after the 3 years. And yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is. It's a game where you run around planets and collect resources. So that's what is No Man's Sky about? That's No Man's Sky. You fly around, you collect resources, and rinse and repeat. That sounds good? Great. If it doesn't, stay far away from No Man's Sky. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. Let me know what you think of No Man's Sky. And have a good one, guys. Take care.